Hi everyone, welcome to Drift Radio. For those of you who don't know Another Life is a non-profit association working to increase representation and improve conditions for minoritized individuals and women in the Danish music and cultural industry. We do this through our national reports and research projects where we create data and knowledge that shed light on representation, mental health and discrimination from different perspectives. The collected data is used as a basis for our various activities and projects, such as our knowledge sharing event today. For the next 2 hours, Another Life will be facilitating some interesting conversations around alternative revenue streams for artists. And for this first hour, we have invited Joakim and Simin, who will talk about how to get paid fairly as a performing artist. And in the last 20 minutes, we will open up for questions from the audience, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for coming. Maybe you can start by presenting yourselves and your work.
My name is Joakim. I am a musician. I do music under several projects. I have a band called First Hate. I have a band called Halo Plus. And I do solo music under the name Angel Way. I DJ and I have different revenue streams, for sure.
I'm Simin, and it's a little bit the same as Joakim. I'm a musician, and I work under different aliases, like my solo project, Abje Hypersun. Then I'm a part of the band Slimo and the duo Abolish I. And I'm also a visual artist, so kind of doing both. And I have a lot of, what did you say?
Revenue streams.
Revenue streams as well, which means a lot of small jobs. Some of them are related to music, some of them are not.
Some of them are big.
Yeah.
Work. So today we're gonna talk about how to get paid fair as an artist, how to get paid, how to navigate life as an artist.
Yes. So Another Life gave us some different topics and questions, and we have some different thoughts and notes on that, and some of them are like very practical, and some of them are more like thoughts and maybe advice.
I think, Simon, you've made a little pamphlet.
Yes, I made a pamphlet.
Maybe we should begin with something from there.
Yeah. You can also have it later, either the physical one or the PDF. But anyways, when we got this topic, one of the first things I thought about was like fair, like the word fair. What does it mean? And is it the money that is fair, or is it the amount of labor? So there's some different thoughts about that. Like, obviously we live in a capitalist society. Yay. So I don't think anything is fair, but we're trying to carve out a way to get as close to something fair as possible. So different thoughts of that. I mean, when you're an independent artist, musician, you're your own boss. So for me, I'm thinking a lot about how do I make a sustainable practice for myself when there are not so many systems made by others, because I'm not strictly employed by others, but actually employed by myself. So try to divide some tasks between, like, now I am my own boss, and when I'm my own boss, my job is to make nice working conditions for myself with the means that I have.
For sure.
Yeah.
Also, I think when you say now I'm my own boss and I'm independent, is working with something that I realized a few years ago, working with agents or working with labels and stuff like that, is that you're still the boss. You are you're the boss, and then there's the agent that represents you, but you're not, because you're in some sort of roster, you're not, employed by the agent. I think that's really important to see it that way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So to kind of keep reversing the things and being critical about the power structures in a way of this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where should we start?
We can talk a little bit about working with agents, or working with experience in negotiating, maybe.
Yeah, I think you have most experience with agents.
Yeah.
I can talk about negotiation afterwards.
Okay, I can talk a little bit about agents. I've worked with several agents in my band First Hate, and I represent myself in my other projects. So I have there's a huge difference, I think. First of all, I think it's important to remember that you're the artist, and then you have chosen an agent to work for you and to represent you, and that it's important to realize that they can represent you in different ways, and it needs to fit wherever you want to go, not what the agent envisions for you. I think it's nice to know some pros and cons. It's really nice with an agent to have somebody to negotiate, because as you're going to talk about it can be quite difficult sometimes to negotiate. The agent has network that you tap into, and contacts with festivals, and contacts with different other people, and also knows a lot about, I think, representing yourself. You need to have a vast knowledge of what is a minimum fee and what's normal in this way of working, and how much can I charge for this, and how much can I, when I show up, what is normal to ask for equipment wise, or that's nice to have an agent to know that. But then again, the agent takes a huge cut, and the agent can also have, if you're a musician, in their roster, the agent can represent similar artists like you that play the same kind of music almost. And so if you are not willing to do it, they will just push another person, because their goal is to earn money in the end.
How much is there a standard cut that an agent takes?
I would say 15%.
15?
Yeah, it's a very standard cut.
Okay.
And it's nice if you represent yourself. You can also make your own agent bureau and add 15% on top in the end. That's really nice.
No, I've actually talked about this with my band before, because we also don't have an agent or a manager, but we thought about now I'm outing us, but we thought about making up a fake name, because it's nice to have someone in between who negotiates for you. We didn't do it, but maybe we're gonna do it at some point.
I've done that with First Hate. Me and Anton, we've done Anton that I play with in the band. We've had a fake name to not negotiate on our behalf, but to ask venues to please make sure that these conditions are met, and please make sure that when the band arrives, this is blah 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 blah. There's a light technician and stuff like that. Because when you're asking for yourself, you have this fear of seeming rude. So much of the time you're like, oh, that's rude. I can't. Who am I to be? I want this. I need this. But as soon as somebody else is representing you and talking about you in a third-person way, it just seems so normal to be make sure they have 10 minutes of silence before they enter stage, for example. But Simin, maybe you can talk something about negotiating a little bit.
Yes. So today, when I was sitting and thinking about this, it actually helped me to do something that I wanted to do for a long time, which is making a very dry system for how to figure out how much I want to get paid. So, I mean, having in mind that you cannot always get your dream pay, but how can I get closer to it, and how can I negotiate it somehow? So I thought of this form. So like, let's say the total, we usually get like paid, how do you say, like a honorar. And the minimum is around 2,300 for a concert. So that's not always enough. But let's say I actually took this example from today, which is not a concert but a talk. And should we say this now? Yes, okay, like 2,000 kroner. So I'm thinking 2/3 of that goes to the actual, what I'm doing right now. I'm talking and you're looking at me, you know? So that's that's 1,334 kroner.
Of the 2,000.
Of the 2,000. So that's 2/3. What is left is 666. So for this kind of job, I would say that around 300 kroner an hour to prepare what I want to say, do research and so on. That's fair. So then I have 2 hours to prepare this. And I did this today with actually putting a clock, and it worked very well. Because I think a lot of us have like also a tendency to overwork or like not set aside time for it, actually just spiraling. So this is a system that works for me. So that's some advice.
I think as an artist, it's spiraling is something everybody can relate to.
Yeah, and then in related to negotiation, then I think you often have an idea of how much time am I gonna have to spend on this. So when you set your price for negotiation, you should always have that counted in. You can make like actually an hourly rate that is your standard rate and try to meet that as good as possible. And like a standard rate for your performance or for, right now we're mostly talking about performing, but it could also be like commissioned work, like 2 minutes of music is blah blah blah, you know?
Definitely. Also, I think it can be really convenient to have, whether you're a DJ or live musician or artist or whatever you do, to have different, to be able to scale what you do up and down depending on the budget.
Yeah.
So you let's say you have 60 minutes of music, you have a full set. This is some basic stuff, but you have a full set. You've prepared 60 minutes of music. They can only pay you whatever the fee is. And so you say, okay, normally I would like to get paid this, but if you can only, your budget is like this, then I'm more than happy to meet you, but I have to, scale it down. It needs to be, it can also be that you have several artist names. As a promoter, I've tried booking artists where I said, I can't remember the fee, but I have a small fee for you. And they're like, oh, that's really nice. Normally I take this amount of money with that name, but I can show up as a DJ instead under this name and perform. And that would meet that fee in a way where everybody is happy. I think that's, instead of saying, no, it's much easier to have some room, and what you do is a little bit moldable. I think that makes it a lot easier to negotiate.
Yeah, and like, as you mentioned before, like this 15%, for an agent, I would always add that to the first offer you make to leave some wiggle room for negotiation. And that's not rude. That's totally normal. Yeah.
Definitely. In general, it's not rude. I think, of course, you can be rude and you can be really cheeky, but it's not rude to as long as you're not rude in the way that you address people. I think it's okay to stand up for yourself and say, I would like this amount of money for this amount of work. How can we find a way for it to work?
Yeah, and of course it's always connected to the context, right? If it was a big venue or a big festival, you don't have to at all fear being, like then you can push it in another way. But like I have a lot of exceptions, like for example working with Another Life. I mean, I think I get paid fairly here, but I wouldn't be like ever like da 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 da. It's a different thing. It adds to a bigger cause that is in our interest, basically, right? But whereas if it was Vega or something that doesn't pay so well, then
which is really interesting. Speaking about venues and different projects, without going into too much, also because I don't know too much about it, to be honest. But I've realized that supporting acts in Vega and Pumpehuset and all those major venues we have here, or medium venues, they pay so poorly. You can expect 500 kroner to as a supporting act. I think that's it's interesting to know that and to experience it, because 500 kroner is not it's not money anymore with the inflation.
No. That also made me think about, like, when you said I actually don't know, and I also don't really know, but a thing that I think is very important in our field, in like independent, experimental, whatever, musicians and artists, is that we can actually push a lot of the status quo by being very open about economy. And that is something that can be difficult, or maybe there's not a mentality for it so much in Denmark or in the world. But I always like to ask my peers, like, what did you get paid there? Because then next time I know, okay, I should at least have this, or I can even ask for a little bit more because it doesn't seem fair. Or, okay, you got 500. Is it worth for me taking that job actually?
How was your experience with support acting in Vega?
Yeah.
Was it worth? Did you get the exposure that they say is part of the fee, or did you how was your hospitality? Could you also have the warm meal that the main act is served and stuff like that? I also, that's definitely I also always ask everybody, all my friends, also peers I don't know.
Yeah.
It's but not everybody wants to talk about money.
No, especially not people who have money. But I think that's really worth trying to push that culture in another direction, because of course there is competition, but there doesn't have to be as much competition as there is. We can kind of get a very long way with being open with each other and supporting each other also. Putting each other's names in, saying like, this person got this, why am I not getting this? Yeah.
Have we said anything about the tariff, the minimum fee?
We just mentioned
it. I would just like to add one thing when we talked about agents, is that I think in my personal experience, it's really nice to have an agent. It wasn't to sound like it's not nice to work with agents. I think agents are really good at pushing far beyond the fee that you imagine that you can have, so that they pay for themselves eventually. So that's a definite recommendation from me. Also, it's a lot of work to negotiate and represent yourself.
Yes.
Like you're saying, you put in you're being paid a certain amount, and you divide it into, this is for the performance part, this is the preparation, how much is for the email work, how much is for reading other artists' contracts to understand what all that stuff.
Yeah, there should be like a legal/communication thing as well. I just added in this little pamphlet as well, with this kind of administration thing that you also do for yourself. I think I'm not good at it myself, but I would recommend like setting actual times for it. So like 2 or 3 times a week, say like I spend 1 hour answering emails and doing this sort of work, and try to, maybe sometimes it's not possible, but try to work a little bit against this urgency of I have to be available all the time. I'm available in that hour where I answer emails every second day or something.
Definitely.
Ideally.
What about Simin with Slimo or as a solo artist? Do you have a lot of experience with saying no to offers? Because I think sometimes, in my experience, it's difficult at times because you don't have endless opportunities. Of course, you have opportunities and you create opportunities for yourself, but it's not like you are not scared of it running dry at some point. But then again, once in a while, you have an offer where it's just too low. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we did say no to some things, and it wasn't easy.
Does it feel good or does it feel bad? What's your experience?
I think it feels good because you're like, yeah, I'm standing up for myself, and I think in the longer run, it's gonna pay off because you also don't want a rumor of doing stuff for free. I can be scared about like, oh, is this rumor gonna spread? And then I'm only doing things for free, and people will not take that seriously at some point. So in that way, it feels nice, but also we missed some shows that could have potentially been really great. But thinking about sustainability and in the longer run, I do think that it was a good decision.
Yes.
What about you?
I feel the same way. I also think I also feel I've had experiences where I've said yes to stuff where I knew with myself, with my true self, that the conditions weren't good, and I said yes anyways. And I've regret that so many times. I think that's also like the other way of seeing it. Is that one thing is that you have a relief from saying no, but also that you have a regret from saying yes at times. But I think all these experiences, it also just takes a lot of time to gather them and have them.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought about a thing when we talked before about negotiating. I think representing yourself and negotiating the fee. One thing is negotiating the fee. Another thing is instead of just thinking about the fee itself, it's important to think about all the other aspects of your performance. Hospitality, like will you get food, will you get drinks when you show up?
Transportation.
Transportation is really expensive. Is that paid? International transportation, local transportation, accommodation if you're traveling around.
Yeah.
Sleeping conditions. What is? It's good to think about.
Always ask questions.
Yeah, always ask. Like
all the questions.
Especially if you're a new artist and you don't have that much experience with playing larger shows or medium shows or just shows in general. Go through it in your head, like, okay, I show up. There's a sound check. Remember to ask, how long is the sound check? Is there a sound check?
Is that sound check long enough for me?
Exactly.
You also get to have like some.
Exactly. I need an hour sound check. I need 2 hours of sound check.
Yeah.
Is there a sound technician to do the sound check, or is it just me?
Yeah.
Is there the equipment I need? This is some basic stuff, but once there's so many things to be aware of, I think that you often forget 1 or 2 details, and then you show up, and then you're like, oh shit, there's no microphone. Not the microphone. There's no, I can't put my keyboard on a stand because the venue doesn't have a stand, because the venue doesn't see it as a standard equipment thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that could lead to another point. I was thinking about if you work with a promoter or a venue or whatever where they don't send you a contract and they don't send you their hospitality things that they are going to offer, you can send them yours.
Yeah.
So you can actually send if you have like, okay, we negotiated this price, send the invoice right away and put a date on it. Say, I need it to be paid in 1 week.
Yeah, or say I need 50% paid up front. Yeah. Because I'm going to the Philippines to DJ my amazing music. I need to be sure the flights, or I'm going to Berlin or whatever. The train isn't covered. Yeah. I need to have 50% paid up front so I'm sure I'm not losing money.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then other than that, hospitality, tech, you can have like a standard template that fits you, that you made yourself, to send to
As
the
a
venue.
contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a contract.
But it's actually I've had an experience once with my band First Hate, where we traveled. We supported a bigger artist. And we went to Vilnius and Riga and Tallinn, and we were told that we were supposed to. We could support the artist, but we couldn't get in on their tour arrangements. So we had to buy flights and accommodation for ourselves, and we did that. And we were promised fees, and we sent out some very basic contract agreements that we made ourselves at home, because we wanted to become this nice artist that had everything in check. And then we played the shows, and the agreement was that we should have the money after the shows. And then we went home, and we just weren't transferred any money. And at that point, when we just started out, I think it was 8,000 kroner or something. It was so much money. Like we were paid normally 500 for a show or 400 for a show. 8,000 was so many shows that we've out of our pocket used on tickets. And it almost, I think for a moment I was like, maybe we should stop the band, because my bank account is just completely ruined now. And they just said the promoting agency were like, we went bankrupt.
Whoa.
So
you never
good
got
luck.
the money?
No, exactly. And I think from that I learned, it's not something I practice all the time, but with stuff I'm not sure about, it's a good thing to ask for 20% upfront or 50% upfront, just so you know that you're not in that situation.
Yeah. And I mean, this sounds like, you can never be completely sure. But
No.
one thing I think is very important to have in mind is it's always necessary. It's very good to have something written word. Like, don't make agreements on phone. Always ask for at least an email with like, we agreed on this. Or you can send it and then you need a confirmation, because that is binding if you have like a written word, but whereas on the phone, no.
Especially not verbal agreements.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just have it written. Or it can also just be an Instagram DM.
Really?
I think so. I don't
screenshot.
know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah.
We should move into the next part of this talk.
Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? There's one.
Do you have any experience from saying no to gigs because they didn't pay you enough, and then they come back later and give you the money you deserve? Or does it make sense?
I don't have a concrete example right now, but yes, I feel like sometimes it's like when you go to the flea market, and you say, and they say like 200, and then you say 100, and then they were like, no way, and then you walk away, and then they're like, wait. Yeah, I think, yes.
I also can't remember any times it happened now, but I'm sure it must have. But negotiating prices, I think you can also, like you said, aim 15% higher. It's not unnormal to negotiate where they put a fee and you put a fee and they put a fee and then you say yes, or you say no, and then they say, okay, we can squeeze in this amount of money, but then I think that's normal practice.
Just about these different economia, how to say that? Economics within performing or making shows in different places, that I just find it so difficult when you get an offer and maybe it will turn out to be great for you in the future, but it wouldn't pay you like what you deserve, or like the minimum price of something.
Yeah,
I just find it so difficult to deal with.
It's very hard to navigate.
I just wish that you said yes, just say no, and then it will come.
Okay, I'm gonna say yes, just say no.
I just say no for sure.
Yeah.
Also, know with yourself, like your own employee, you're self-employed. You can set your own success rate. It doesn't have to be a specific amount of money. It can also just be, my dream is, or it makes me happy to try to perform in this kind of environment, in this gallery, I've never performed on a stage before. I would love that. I'm really willing to do that for zero amounts of money. Also, I think a way I'd always try to is being okay, I can't get the amount. You can only present me with this amount of money, but what else can I get from you? Can I get, dear Pumpehuset, can I then have free access to your shows for the next 2 years? Or, can you get, I haven't been Pumpehuset that, but you know what I mean? Can I show up and sell my merch without you taking a cut? How can I, there's a way in, how can I find a way to make money on the situation if the money isn't brought to me up front?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really difficult, and I really understand the question also because you can't say no to everything, because then you cannot live. So
then your artwork needs to be really good.
And that's how it works.
That's how it works. Exactly.
Hi, I have a question regarding being an upcoming artist. How do you deal with like places and festivals and stuff just giving you exposure or drink tickets and stuff like that?
It's it's not a very nice proposition to just have drink tickets. And exposure is you can't eat it.
Oh.
But it is also, I don't know. It really depends on how upcoming you are and where you want to go. What's your vision for yourself? Because exposure is also, I don't know.
It is real in some way, but I think, I mean, you should don't do it.
No, don't do it.
No, maybe do. I don't know, but like it's your job, and people don't go to work without getting paid. That's not fair, or like, I don't know. I have exceptions for myself, which is like, is it a friend that is doing something great that I want to support? Is it a solidarity event? Is it something that really aligns with my values? I've also played for free for exposure, of course. I'm not gonna judge it, but in the end, I don't think it's fair, and you deserve to get paid, no matter how upcoming you are. It's still work.
And maybe you can look at the festival a little bit on the web page and see, okay, what kind of stage am I playing at? And you can write them back in the email. I would love to be a part of this, but I can see I'm playing for 1,000 people. They might drink 2 beers per hour, or whatever. So that's 4,000 beers during the 2 hours set. How much money is that? How much are the vendors paying your festival to? You can. Maybe it's a bit extreme to overdo that, but there's always. It's really it's difficult with festivals. But if it's a venue, if it's a local promoter somewhere, it's nice to ask, can I see your budget? Is it really true that it doesn't fit anymore in the budget? Are the other artists being paid the same? Because then I would be happy to come and play. But if the other artists are getting 10k each, I can't come for 0k. That doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty like in the same lane, but like you are both also talking about that you have been like working for free and working for like a low pay, and I think my question is about like how can you like how long is the time have it been for you until you have gotten the self-worth that you are worth? Because I feel like it's a process for everybody needs to do a lot of free work and then all of a sudden you get paid, but like what's this your like time? How many years have you been doing it before getting paid?
I think that's a great question.
We talked about it before, actually. It's a bit abstract, but let's try to be as concrete as possible.
Yeah. I think when I started out with my band First Hate, I didn't play any instruments. I made some music in GarageBand, but I was invited by my bandmates to join, and I had no experience. And I spent quite a long time playing shows for nothing, but I also didn't. I brought the value of being the artist and a content for the evening, but I also didn't feel when I met sound technicians, I had no idea what they were talking about. I had no idea what it meant to be an artist. So I've realized, I think I've thought about that over the years, that you also have to reach some sort of professionalism in what you do in order to expect. It needs to be, balanced. If you just started out, being I want to be a DJ, of course nobody will pay you, immediately. But I think I've spent years doing it. It's something that's, that's a good question. How long? How long would you say, Simon?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it also. Like, I think I've been very lucky because when I started playing, like for real again, I mean, I've been playing all my life, but when I started playing live, I was playing with people in a band, like with Slimo, people who have more experience in these kind of things. And also, because we were in a band together, I also got some of their legacy for free, I feel like. So they knew more and they were like better at negotiating. So I learned a lot from that. But I assume it's much more difficult as a solo act. I've also experienced that, but then again, I always feel like I have a big benefit. I have a benefit from
advantage.
Yeah, advantage from having the band and being like associated with that. So that's another economy again, as you talked about different economies, or like it's not only money, then there's these different things you can negotiate with. But to answer your question, 2.5 years, I would say. No,
but it's difficult.
No, I don't know. No,
it takes a while to do stuff. It also depends on how often. If you're a music artist, for example, how many shows do you play? If you play once every half year, of course it might take years and years for you. It also depends on, have you put out music? Is it something that? Yeah, I think with First Hate I've played maybe the first 1 year, 1.5 years, and then we put out an EP, and that helped us to be more of a hyped name, so we could begin taking more than zero. Before that was 0 to 500 kroner, and it didn't seem to really go anywhere. But then when you put out music, and it depends so much on, there's so many factors. But I think you can do it for a long, long, long time. And you can also stagnate as an artist. You've reached a level of pay, and you it doesn't seem to go from there, and then it goes down a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, for the 2.5 years, that was a little bit a joke. But I mean, we did get paid, but maybe not enough. And then we actually made a active choice to say, no, we're not gonna do that anymore. We have this minimum wage, and then we can negotiate from that, but we don't go further down than this, for example. And I think that's helped a lot.
Don't do art for free for very long. No.
Hey, thanks a lot for everything. I was just wondering, in terms of being a new artist and coming with not that much experience or no one to spar with. I'm from another life, and I was just thinking, would it make sense to have some sort of paper that could be like some sort of standard or something that you could kind of point to as an artist to say, oh, here is not only the tariff, but that maybe that's the bare minimum, and then you can kind of be like, this is the next step, this is nice, and this is the next step. Or I was just thinking if we should make something like that. Also because there's so much talk around the industry about good work environments and how to increase all the good things, and but it's like this is a very important part of it, right? But that link is not really, that's not made. I was just thinking out loud, what would actually benefit and help you if you were to choose?
I mean, you and I, we have actually talked about it before in another context about making this kind of paper and then having different, like for example, Another Life and Oomph. That is the platform I have co-sign it somehow. So it's not a fagbevægelse. Hvad hedder det? It's not a union, but it can kind of do a little bit of the job. So yeah, make this paper together and have like different organizations or whatever in the field co-sign it, so we have this like, oh, we actually agree on this together. So, and like, if you fuck with me, you fuck with all of them, you know, sort of.
It's also a little bit what unions like DMF is doing with the tariff, making a minimum, you know, different sets of rules for minimum fees. And if you're part of those unions, you can always call them and ask them about scenarios. Not that I am a part of, but I would love to be. But yeah, but I think it's so tricky. It's same with the amount of time you're supposed to work for underpaid, and also the amount of money you're getting for shows, because so much of music, art, and fashion is so hype based. There's so much, you know, having your image as the cool person that gets paid a lot, or is really, you know, not available or something like that. So much of it seems like that's sort of the worlds. I like that. So having a paper like that, I think it would be difficult to have people actually, you know, reveal how much they get for stuff. But I don't know. Because if you've said somewhere on the internet, for example, I normally get paid 2,000 for this, but in the next situation, your ideal vision is to have 5,000 for it. It's difficult to, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
But in the paper, it should just be like anonymous, right? But I think the link between like both money and working conditions is what is missing. That would be the great thing
to have all the practicalities and
all
to have details. That's
together,
a great idea.
Like not just money, but like what does it actually mean?
Yeah.
Hospitality, all the technical stuff around it. I think that would help a lot. Yeah.
Yes, please. We can make that.
Yeah, I'm happy to help as well.
For sure.
We're out of time, but thank you so much. This was really nice. And stick around for the next hour, where we have Isabel Rabe talk about sync and what that is. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But thank you so much.